Robin DiAngelo, a white woman, is telling all of you that you were born racist because you're born in America, which is inherently a country based on white supremacy. And she tells you that if you recognize your racism, good for you. And if you don't, and you deny being racist, that's because you're racist. You don't see it. So it's a no-win situation. So my take is that there are racist people all over the world. Some of them even hate white people, believe it or not. But that doesn't make America inherently racist. Slavery was abominable. It happened all over the world. And it happened to people of all colors. And it still goes on in China.
Welcome to the Michele Tafoya podcast.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Michele Tafoya podcast. I'm Michele Tafoya. Please subscribe. Give us 5 stars, 4 stars, however many stars you can give us. Don't ever miss an episode. You can follow me on all kinds of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I guess Twitter's now X, which it's been for multiple years, but we still can't get that through our thick heads. It's kind of like the San Diego Chargers and the LA Chargers. I will probably forever call them the San Diego Chargers. So, sue me. As I'm recording this, I'm getting ready to go in for a shoulder replacement surgery. And so this is taped before my shoulder replacement surgery. And so while I'm sitting out recovering with that surgery, you will be hearing this. But for those of you that don't follow me on Substack, or you just get the free Substacks I write, I'm going to read you a paid one because it's about a week old now. And I'm going to tell you about what motivated me to write this open letter to the left. Here's how I begin. Dear Left, the last time I voted Democrat was for Al Gore in 2000. We all know what happened then. And, I thought about this as an aside. Why did I vote for Al Gore? I don't think I liked George W. Bush. I don't really remember. Maybe I was identifying as a Democrat at the time. I don't really remember. But yes, I was once a registered Democrat, raised in California by Republican parents, and educated at UC Berkeley. Some people think that because I went to Cal, how in the heck did I ever become a conservative? And some people say I'm not a true conservative because I'm pro-choice. So there you go, whatever. Thank goodness Gore lost that election in 2000. Imagine how he would have dealt with 9/11. Now, I got some pushback from a friend of mine on that particular line. How could Al Gore have handled it any worse than George W. did? He made one of the biggest mistakes of foreign policy in the history of our country. He got us into a war. We lost blood and treasure. But I think that Al Gore might have blamed 9/11 on climate change. And so we probably wouldn't have done really anything. That's just a guess. Anyway, thank goodness Al Gore didn't win. I think George W. Bush, in spite of his mistakes, is a good and decent man and did his best. That terrorist attack of 9/11, getting back on track here, changed my politics forever. I began to read more history, listen to commentary, and make sense of my patriotism. For all of you that experienced 9/11, I think you know what I'm talking about. And we had that moment of kumbaya in this country where Democrats and Republicans stood together on the steps of the Capitol and sang God Bless America. And just like that, it's poof, it's gone. It's gone. Okay. And since having kids, my view of domestic and foreign policy has sharpened. Meanwhile, I've watched you, dear left, lurch further and further to the left. For decades, you've been lecturing the world about your moral high ground. You've not only lectured, but you've also virtue signaled, shamed, canceled, bullied, and misinformed. Yes, you have left, and I'll get into the examples of how you've done all of that. But it seems to me the vast majority of the canceling in this world has been done by the left against anyone who disagrees with them. So I will stick to that story for as long as I have to. No wonder people are exhausted by your demands on our social behavior. Why did I write this Substack, this open letter to the left? Because I am exhausted. by their demands, by, again, I'll use all the damn buzzwords. They're gaslighting their, oh, look over here at this shiny object and don't look over there at all the crap we've done to this nation. I'm so tired of it. I'm so exhausted. And I feel like the floodgates are starting, like the dam is starting to break. And more people of common sense, more quote unquote normal people feel the way that I reflect in this article than they feel in any allegiance with the left. That is my hope, my prayer, and I'll continue with the article in trying to persuade you of that. For starters, dear left, you've asserted that if you're white, you're inherently racist. Don't deny this. Please don't deny this. I've got the receipts. Okay. Let's start with Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility, which became a bestseller in the wake of the George Floyd riots of 2020. I think she published in 2017, but obviously the George Floyd riots were, as Whoopi Goldberg called them, a racial reckoning, and White Fragility became a bestseller. But there's a guy named John McWhorter. He's Black. He's a linguistics professor and he's an author. And he read White Fragility and wrote that DiAngelo believes she has, quote, white privilege, aware of the unintentional racism ever lurking inside of her that was inculcated from birth by the white supremacy on which America was founded. Now, obviously, this book became a bestseller, so a lot of people bought in, but McWhorter did not. And he continued in his writing, quote, despite the sincere intentions of its author, Robin DiAngelo, the book diminishes Black people in the name of dignifying us. This is unintentional, of course, like the racism DiAngelo sees in all whites. Still, the book is pernicious because of the authority that its author has been granted over the way innocent readers think. The authority she's been granted. Let me just expound here away from the article for a minute. Robin DiAngelo, a white woman, is telling all of you that you were born racist because you're born in America, which is inherently a country based on white supremacy. Okay. So, and she tells you that if you recognize your racism, good for you. And if you don't, and you deny being racist, that's because you're racist. You don't see it. So it's a no-win situation. And as he said, and I'll repeat this article or this line from the article because I think it's really important. He says that the book diminishes Black people in the name of dignifying us. So my take is that there are racist people all over the world. Some of them even hate white people, believe it or not. But that doesn't make America inherently racist. Again, stepping aside from the article with a little commentary of myself here. The slavery was abominable. And it happened all over the world. And it happened to people of all colors. And it still goes on in China and other places. There are allegations about Vietnam and Turkey and other places. But I think because we're such a free country based on free speech, that people feel like we should just continue to beat up on ourselves. That we should continue to hate ourselves for that part of our history. And that no matter how many conversations we have about it, we need to have more. And no matter how many films are made about it, we need to produce more. And it's as though we don't teach the history and build on the successes of it. When I was a kid, there was this special called Roots. It was one of the original miniseries, and it was all about slavery. And the country watched together, and whites felt shame, and we went through it, and we've built on it. And I can think of great moments of unity in this country, and still great achievements that were created by Blacks and whites together. And we've had a Black president and we've had a Black vice president. But instead of recognizing that progress and building on it, we continue to divide ourselves racially. And I think that's because there's business in it. There's there's money to be made from that, quite frankly, and power to be gained by it. It doesn't seem like unity and, kumbaya is really the goal here. It does not. Because if it were, it'd be really easy to achieve. But there are too many people who don't want to see that. More from my letter to the left next. Folks, economists warn that massive tax hikes could devastate your IRA and 401k account as the stock market braces for impact. With inflation on the rise and global uncertainty looming more than ever, it is clear why central banks and savvy Americans are turning to gold. Now, if you haven't had your eye on gold, you might want to take time to make it a priority. I'm urging you to call my friends at Priority Gold to find out how they can help you diversify your savings with physical gold and silver. Call 1-800-405-GOLD or visit prioritygold.com/golden for a free gold info guide. Plus, see if you qualify for free shipping and storage. Experts agree that physical gold is one of the best ways to fortify your savings, no matter the economic climate. Act now to get your portfolio working for you while the market is golden. Call 1-800-405-GOLD to speak with a gold specialist or visit prioritygold.com/golden to learn more. That's 1-800-405-GOLD or prioritygold.com/golden. So I continue in my letter to the left. You've created language to intimidate and confuse. This is what I'm saying to the left. Here's what you've done. You've created language to intimidate and confuse. See, for a long time, we've all spoken a certain kind of language, with pronouns, his, hers, she, him, all of that kind of stuff. But the left insists on manipulating language to make you feel stupid, to shame you, and to confuse you. Let me continue. You have developed identity politics to divide us. And here's just a small sample of your divisive terminology. Whiteness. Whiteness and white racialized identity refer to the way that white people, their customs, culture, and beliefs operate as the standard by which all other groups are compared. And there was a typo in there from this quote that I'm reading. Whiteness is also at the core of understanding race in America. Whiteness and the normalization of white racial identity throughout America's history have created a culture where non-white persons are seen as inferior or abnormal. That quote is courtesy of the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., an institute that my late mother, rest her soul, used to love, admire, and amplify in our home. So basically, the Smithsonian is telling us that white people see themselves as superior and everyone else is inferior or abnormal. The fact that comes from the Smithsonian is so disappointing. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who think I'm naive or I'm willing to look past. The next one is white adjacent. Layla Saad, author of Me and White Supremacy, Combat Racism, Change the World and Become a Good Ancestor, 2020, defines certain people of color as, quote, white passing or white adjacent or a person who holds white privilege but is not white. The classification, quote, includes persons who may be biracial, multiracial, or white passing people of color who benefit under systems of white supremacy from having lighter skin color than visibly brown, black, or indigenous people. I'm sure I would be classified as white adjacent because, quite frankly, I'm Hispanic, but I probably don't look like a typical, am I allowed to say that? I'm probably not brown enough for a lot of people, so they're going to call me white adjacent. I've heard people call black men white adjacent because they share the values of a conservative. White adjacent. Asians are often called white adjacent. So you don't think they're trying to race bait here, folks? You don't think they love keeping us racially divided? Think about this language. white adjacent. Here's another term they've set up for us. Cisgender. CIS-gender. According to Merriam-Webster, as the term transgender has become increasingly prominent, a contrasting term has also settled into the language. Cisgender, also styled as cisgendered and often shortened to cis, describes someone whose internal sense of gender corresponds with the sex the person was identified as having at birth. Most people can be described as cisgender or cis. If the pronouncement your mom heard at your birth is, "It's a girl" or "It's a boy," still feels accurate, then you're cisgender. So if you're not transgender, you're cisgender. How about I'm female? There's science here, and there's the sociology of gender. Sex is one thing. You are not born with an assigned sex. You are the XX or XO. It's pretty damn simple, with very minor, few, tiny little exceptions that they want us all to acknowledge. The tiniest of exceptions. So if you're not transgender, you're cis. You're cisgender. And it's I hear it as a derogatory term, used as a derogatory term more than anything else. So that's another one of their terms. Microaggressions. Here's the next word. Kevin Nadal, a professor of psychology at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, told NPR, National Public Radio, quote, microaggressions are defined as the everyday, subtle, intentional, and oftentimes unintentional interactions or behaviors that communicate some sort of bias toward historically marginalized groups. The difference between microaggressions and overt discrimination or macroaggressions is that people who commit microaggressions might not even be aware of them. So therefore, we got to go tell them all about their microaggressions. So I've heard examples of microaggressions. Gosh, you look so pretty. What are you trying to say? That I don't normally look pretty? I don't like to be called pretty. I think you're misogynist. Or you have the most beautiful hair. What are you trying to say? I'm Colombian, and yeah, this is the way our hair grows. So are you pointing out that my hair is different from your hair? I resent that. Oh my God, people, just toughen up. Macroaggressions are one thing. Microaggressions are innocent. And I think the recipient of this quote unquote microaggressions is more responsible for having to deal with it. And if you want to say, hey, yeah, this is how we grow it in Colombia, yeah, fine. Maybe you'll set the person on a path toward learning. But to suggest that they're being aggressive with you, it's exhausting. And then we get to pronouns. And I looked these up, and we'll show you some charts of the different pronouns here, because there are like a zillion examples. And yeah, if you're going to make all kinds of new pronouns words, I'm going to say zillion is an actual word. There are a zillion examples of these online. UC Merced, University of California Merced, puts out this list and says, this is not an exhaustive list. Any combination is possible. Gender inclusive pronouns: she, he, they, they, ze, she, ver, per, ei, fe, a, l. Example sentences: they love coffee. Zim, I asked Zim to meet me in the library. I read Zir's book in my class. I hope in my lifetime I stop seeing people put their pronouns in their Twitter, X profiles, their email signatures. All I care about is your first name. I really, really don't care about how you identify. That has no bearing on what my relationship with you is going to be. And if you're that sensitive about your pronoun, you're going to have a tough life. All right, more from my open letter to the left in just a second. I love the folks at besthotgrill.com. They make the incredible Solaire infrared grills that, the ones I've been telling you about. They heat up in just 3 minutes to searing heat, and they make the juiciest grill food you will ever taste. But rather than take my word for it, why don't you try before you buy with the Solaire Demo Rental Program? For just $47, you can use a Solaire infrared grill for 2 weekends and the week in between without a salesman breathing down your neck. You can test its versatility with steak, chicken, burgers, fish, pork, veggies. I hear some people even grill pineapple. All the foods that your family enjoys. Inspect Solaire's quality construction and experience firsthand Solaire's hot and fast performance. At the end of the demo, just wipe it off and put it in the box for a UPS pickup. Solaire makes it super easy, and then you'll get a coupon for $47 off any new Solaire infrared grill. The Solaire Demo Rental Program will convince you why Solaire is truly the last grill you'll ever buy. Learn more about the demo program and these amazing USA-made grills at besthotgrill.com. That's besthotgrill.com. Solaire Demo Rental Program at besthotgrill.com. Continuing from my open letter to the left. You, dear left, have hurled awful slurs. Brian C. Anderson of the City Journal wrote in the spring of 2021. See, I did a lot of research for this article. Quote, "It has become a habit of left liberal political argument to use such invective to dismiss conservative beliefs as if they don't deserve an argument, and to redefine mainstream conservative arguments as extremism and bigotry. Close-minded and uncivil, this tendency betrays what's liberal in liberalism." This is Brian C. Anderson of the City Journal. And he continued, quote, "Liberalism's most prominent 19th century spokesman, John Stuart Mill, gave canonical expression to the notion that the reasoned civil exchange of ideas is how we get at the truth." You think? When was the last time you heard reasoned civil exchange of ideas in an effort to get at the truth? So, example, defend women's sports and you're called a transphobe. Plead for a secure border and you're called a xenophobe. Back the blue, meaning support the police, and you're called a racist. Identify as pro-life and you're called a Christian white nationalist. Don't list your pronouns and you're called a homophobe. Why in the hell would anyone want to speak up for their values if they are going to be slandered by terms like white supremacist or neo-Nazi? Where would they go to get their reputations back? So I don't care if you try to cancel me, which is why I started this new career of mine in trying to speak the truth, trying to find the truth. I don't care if you try to cancel me. I don't, because I'm going to say what I believe is the truth. So yeah, I love the police, and I think there are bad apples in every profession on this planet, every single profession, including the one I came from. There are bad apples everywhere. So if you're going to call me racist for supporting the police, call me whatever you want. Here's what people need to do to fight back against this part of leftism. Don't care what they call you. Don't read the comments in your X feed or your Instagram. Say what you believe to be the truth. Say it civilly and with conviction. Know who you are, and let the rest of the people go on about yammering about how much they disagree with you and calling you names. If you succumb to the name calling, then the left gets exactly what it wants, which is for you to shut up. And for all of us who believe in really normal values to shut up. That's what they're trying to do. It's like terrorists want to scare you into staying home and not going to the theater, not going anywhere because there might be terrorists. You let them win if you just stay home and never come out of your house. If you just don't speak, you let the leftists win. if you don't stand up for your values because you're afraid of a name, being called a name, no matter how vicious the name, it's just a name. Just don't forget what you learned in kindergarten. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names can never hurt me. Are you feeling overwhelmed by the increasing cost of health insurance? Have you had enough of not having control over your healthcare dollars? Introducing ShareRight, healthcare done the right way. At ShareRight, you're not just a number. You're part of a caring community. And forget about paying excessive premiums. With ShareRight, you stand to save 30 to 50% compared to health insurance. Think about what you could do with all those savings. But it's more than just savings. ShareRight ensures you have access to the care you deserve precisely when you need it. From routine checkups to unexpected emergencies, with ShareRight, your healthcare is our top priority. Empower yourself today by taking control of your healthcare costs. Visit shareright.org/Tafoya, Tafoya, to learn more and see how much you can save. Visit shareright.org/Tafoya. That's ShareRight.org, shareright.org/Tafoya, Tafoya, for healthcare done the right way. Also, dear left, you've gaslighted us. Here are some examples. Kamala Harris was named the border czar until she wasn't. And she became the Democrat nominee for president. She was no longer a former border czar. Oh, that was never her title. The media repeated that she was never in charge of the border again and again and again. Most of the media, the dishonest media, the unwilling to face the truth media, the unwilling to look at the tape media. So that was a gaslight. The abysmal and embarrassing Afghanistan withdrawal that killed 13 of our service members was hailed by the Biden administration as the, quote, largest non-combatant evacuation in U.S. military history. Woohoo, look what we did. So they tried to turn this incredible humiliation into a victory. And I don't know if you saw it a few days ago, but the good old folks in Afghanistan were parading our military equipment around as though it was theirs. Because you know what? Now it is. Because Joe Biden left it there. And Kamala Harris signed off on that. Don't forget that. Here's another gaslight. The border is secure. Kamala said it. Mayorkas has said it. Oh, the border's secure. We have a secure border. There's work to do, but we don't have a secure border. Let me read this to you. The U.S. Border Patrol had nearly 250,000 encounters with migrants crossing into the United States from Mexico in December of 2023, according to government statistics. That was the highest monthly total on record, easily eclipsing the previous peak of about 224,000 encounters in May of 2022, both under the Biden-Harris administration, in which Vice President Kamala Harris was the border czar. So you try to gaslight us by telling us it's not happening. By flying some of these people in on these bizarre flights that you've somehow tried to legalize and bring these people in from other countries without vetting them. And we've seen the results. We're not saying they're all bad people, but you haven't vetted them. And the destruction that it's having on big cities, every state's a border state. The destruction it's having is, it's undeniable. Although I'm sure you'll continue to try to gaslight us about that. Here's another gaslight. Tim Walz is a nice guy. He's Minnesota nice. Now, this headline belies that. Walz let rioters burn Minneapolis while Harris fundraised to bail them out of jail. Tim Walz is not a nice guy, folks. I've lived in Minnesota for 30 years. I know who's nice, and he's not. Joe Biden is as sharp as ever. Well, that one, you had to eat your words big time, didn't you? But you tried. Oh, you tried like hell to gaslight us on Joe Biden and his fitness in office. You tried like hell, dear left. And if that's not proof that you're attempting to gaslight us at every turn, I don't know what is. Okay, so here's my conclusion. How can you blame us, dear left, if we don't have faith in you, if we don't believe you, if we don't trust you, if we want to fight back against your illiberalism, if we are fed up? How can you blame us? Your tactics, by the way, dear left, are lazy. That's what makes them so easy for you to employ. They don't require thought. They don't require argument. They don't require debate. They don't require civility. They just require lemmings. And the sheep will follow because you know what? That's easier. Just following you is easier than making up your own mind. Why I wrote this? I'm so saddened by the state of the country and its lack of civil discourse. There's enough blame to go around to be sure. But what keeps me awake at night is how the left seriously demonizes its opposition. Seeing this over the past decade in particular convinced me to quit my job on the sideline of Sunday Night Football and speak up for those who feel they can't take the risk to speak for themselves. Think about that. Think about what I just said. American citizens don't want to take the risk of speaking out in a country where the First Amendment gives us the right to speak out. How far we have fallen. How hard we must fight back. And I'm here for it. I hope you'll follow me on Substack. I hope you'll subscribe to this podcast. Hope you'll follow me on X and Instagram and Facebook. And I hope you'll join me in this fight and say enough with the fear of being called names. I'm going to say what I believe. With that, be brave, do good, and next time I see you, I'll have a fully repaired left shoulder to go along with my fully repaired and replaced right shoulder.